So that are those, whatever. Those are the projects. Well, hello and welcome to episode 11 of Michelle's Fiber Studio podcast. My name is Michelle and I am your host. If this is your first time joining me, I thank you so very much. And if you are a returning viewer, well, thank you so much for coming back. Today is Monday, June 24th. It is a beautiful sunny day out, mid 70s or so. Last week was really, really hot, although I wasn't even in the state, but we had some record-breaking heat last week, but heat has broken and it is really pleasant today. I have a lot to share with you. Before I do, a couple of little side notes. I've got some construction that is happening in the road outside of my house, and of course I got all my windows open enjoying the fresh air. So if you hear a little extra road noise or traffic, they're stopping the traffic kind of just in front of us. So I apologize for that in advance. Hopefully that's not too terrible. I'm also using a new camera, so I hope that this is working out. I think it's gonna give a nice picture, better clarity of the yarn and the knitting and all of that stuff. So I'm kind of excited to see how this works out as well. I am not wearing any knitting, but Marta is sporting another shawl here. This one is called Papillon or Butterfly. And oh, I forgot to make a note. Do I have it still up in my, I do. It is my MarinJaKnits. MarinJaKnits is the designer. And let me get back over my show notes here. There. The yarn that I used is earth yarn in harvest fingering, the black grape. That's this deeper color here. And then it's a variegated yarn. It's the earth unique fingering in Gusty. This is yarn that I bought in August of 2021. My husband and I vacationed in Williamsburg, Virginia, and we visited a yarn shop there. And I actually saw this exact pattern and the same yarn, maybe not these colors, but the same yarn on display in the store. And I decided I wanted to make it. I bought the yarn, I had them wind the yarn, and I actually cast it on when I got to the hotel room. I brought all of my needles with me, so I had a spare set of needles, and I got that started right away. So I did start that in August of 2021. It did take me almost a year though. I didn't finish it until May of 2022. It's a decently involved pattern. It looks really complicated. Of course, all the color changes are being done by the variegated yarn, and it's a lot of short rows. So as long as you're comfortable with short rows, it's really not hard. You just follow the pattern. But it was a process because each row involved 3 or sometimes 4 segments of short rows that you were doing. So, but it was a fun knit, and it's always a fun one to wear. It always gets me a lot of compliments. Marta's probably not even doing it full justice, but love it, love it. One of my favorites that I like to wear every winter. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. On my blocking board today, I do have a finished object to share with you. I have a pair of socks. I finished my New York socks, started and finished while I was on vacation. Hold it up here nice and close. Hopefully the camera's picking that up good for you. I used fiber yarns. I actually have the yarn here. Still in my yarn cozy. If I pull it out a little bit, there you go. Yeah, that's the yarn. And the net tag here is 5 burrow yarns. It is their classic fingering, and Nautical Twilight is the colorway name. I have to say, when I wound the yarn up, I wasn't too sure how I liked it. It's really kind of a cacophony of colors. I affectionately refer to it as clown barf. Sorry, not very pleasant, but that's kind of what it reminded me of. But once it was knit up into the socks, it looks pretty good. So I'm pretty happy with these. I knit on these the whole week while I was in New York City. I have a vlog that I just posted and you can see me working on those. I do 56 stitches cuff down on size 0, 2.0 millimeter needles using the OMG Heel by Megan Williams. And something I tried with this pair of socks for the first time, actually I did it with the pair that I cast on when I went to Iowa, is I cast on over 2 needles. I'm trying to see if that's going to make my cuff just a little bit stretchier for me. So that is my finished object and what I have on my blocking board. Okay, I had to actually just stop to and turn off. I have a fish tank and we have a chiller set up on it because it is warmer, and of course that kicked on just as I was getting started. So I apologize if that audio towards the end of my sock project didn't come out that great, but it's off now, so it shouldn't turn on again. So let's talk about what I have in my project bag. These are the projects that I worked on while I was in New York. I think I'm gonna start with Islands in the Stream. This is the new one that I started specifically as a vacation knitting project. And look how much I got done. I am pretty pleased with that, considering I didn't have a ton of knitting time in the evenings. I was kind of worn out and tired. So I have just finished the 3rd of 5th colors. I need to do another set of these little islands, but I'm really enjoying it. It's fun. I worked on it actually a fair amount on the bus on the way back is actually where I got a good chunk of it done. The yarns that I am using are from Dirty Water Dye Works. And my main color is, oops, almost dropped it, nope, that's the gradient, is March Sky. It's her Lillian yarn. There we go. And then the bundle is Moon Shadow. And so it's a set of 5 blues. See if I can kind of hold them up. You can see the ones that I've used. I've wrapped it around the yarn cozy. There's 2 of them. And here are the other 2. One thing I am doing to keep this straight, and you can see in my vlog video, is I cut a little snippet of each of the colors and attached it to a paper. So I have done this in the past when there's individual tags, but where this was a bundle and it didn't have individual tags, I just made my own little list. And so this was super handy as I was moving through the project and needing to figure out which color I had to do next. I could just pull my little sheet out, and that worked out really, really well. This yarn is yarn that I purchased in February of 2017. So it is yarn that I have had for quite a while in my stash. So did I hold up the gray? I don't think I actually did. So that's the March Sky rather. And I'm having a good time with this project. The pattern again is Islands in the Stream. It is by Lisa K. Ross. So we'll see. This is what, the second shawl. I did finish a shawl right before I left on vacation. So I have the 2 shawls on the needle. So yeah, we'll see how long it takes me to do it, but I'm having a good time with it right now. So the other project that I did while I was on vacation was my Ameyo. So let's pull this one out so you can see my progress on this one. Don't want to lose my stitches. There we go. So where's my stitch marker? So right here, that's where I was before. So I got a good little chunk done. I think I got about 6 or 8 rows done in all. I am I'm trying to remember. I think I'm almost 2/3 of the way through this current section. I don't remember exactly. What I really need to do is figure out how long it takes me to do one set. So it would be like 4, in essence it's like doing 4 rows, because when you do brioche, you have your right side and you knit across with your main yarn. So in that case, this is this yarn here. It's the Hope Knit Jimmy Sock. And I'll pull that out in a second and show you the actual yarn. And then you slide the stitches back over to the beginning of the needle, and you pick up the second yarn, which is my mohair, and you knit across. And you're knitting and slipping, or purling, depending on, so on this side I am knitting with the Jimmy Sock and purling with the mohair, and on the back I am purling with the Jimmy Sock and knitting with the mohair. There we go. Is that gonna... So here's the trick. I need to figure out how to hold it up and touch the camera all at the same time. There we go. So I get it. What I need to do is figure out how long it takes me to do 4 rows, basically, which is 1 pattern row, front and back. It's a lot, right? So the front side, when I'm doing the Jimmy Sock on the right side, that's the one that has all of the actual pattern knitting, and then the other 3 passes are just knitting and slipping, or purling and slipping. So it's not terrible, but it's a little bit of a process. My vague thoughts right now are to make sure that every day I do at least 1 set of 4 rows for now. And just to see how, just to keep it moving. If I am having a good time with it and I want to do another set of 4 rows, I try to do them in the sets of 4, so that way when I pick it back up, I know where I'm at. I'm also marking obviously in my pattern as well, but it's just a little bit easier to know that I'm starting kind of on a row 1 is how I'm thinking of it in my brain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So I know when I pick it up, I'm on a row 1. And that just makes it a little easier for me. So let's pull out the yarn again. I know I talk about it all the time, but we're gonna do it again for you. So here is my Jimmy Sock. Yeah, and that is in Summer Clover. And then the mohair is in 38 is the colorway name. So I did wind up to bring with me, and I have an extra skein of each, and I wound those up to bring with me to New York on the highly optimistic chance that I knit through all of this, which clearly you can see I did not. I pretty much knew I was not going to, but it was a security blanket and I figured they needed to get wound up anyway, so that's what I did. So that are those, whatever. Those are the projects in my project bag, the projects that I worked on all of last week while I was in New York City on vacation. So I can't go on vacation without buying vacation yarn, right? So on my yarn shelf, I do have a couple of new acquisitions. So let's talk a little bit about that. One of the stops we made and places I like to go is Nitty City, which is on the Upper West Side. And I got 2 new skeins of yarn. That way I have a choice for the socks when we go back and visit next summer. I will have a new sock yarn to use to make a pair of socks. So this is the first one. It is Trey Liz. It is the Aries sock yarn, which is a 85-15 superwash merino nylon, and the colorway name is Birthday Girl. There we go. Hope you can see that. So that one I thought was really fun and pretty. I love the purples and reds and oranges and a little bit of green in there too. See that? Kind of fun. Yeah, that'll make a really fun pair of socks. It's 400 meters. Yeah, 400 meters. So I know, like 425 yards-ish, right? And then I got this one here, which is a Yarn Over New York in their Times Square colorway. And the color name is Sea Glass. So this one I just thought was super pretty, and yeah, right this minute, this would probably be the one I would cast on first. So we'll see next summer how I'm feeling, right? So these are just gonna go and sit patiently on my yarn shelf until next year so that I have some yarn to choose from to make a pair of socks next time I go to New York City. The last thing that I got while I was there that I have wanted to get, there we go, words are hard today, is some knitting Barber cords. There we go. And when you open this up, you get these little cords, and they are hollow in the center. See if I can find an end. Is it gonna pick up? Ooh, nope. Maybe, not quite. Well, trust me, it's hollow, which means that I can slide them onto the tip of my knitting needle like that. And if I want to try on something, then I can easily slide my stitches onto this tubing, and it will hold my stitches really easily, and then I can slide them right back onto my knitting. So I've been wanting to get a set of these for a little while, so that was something that I opted to get while I was also at Knitty City this week. So those are my newest acquisitions on my yarn shelf. Today's random knitting fact comes from, I think it's Fact Finders, where I've gotten a lot of these. And I thought it was really interesting. During the 1940s, in the World War II era, interest in continental knitting, which is knitting with your yarn being fed through your left hand, decreased because of its origins in Germany. And then the English style of knitting, which is when you hold your yarn primarily in your right hand, rose in popularity, which I thought was fascinating. And then the reintroduction of continental knitting in the United States is largely credited and associated with Elizabeth Zimmerman, who is a very well-known knitting name in the 1990s, probably 80s as well. But I thought that was fascinating. So there's basically two different main ways of holding the yarn for knitting. You either hold in your left hand, which is known as continental knitting, and it's also known as picking, or you hold the yarn in your right hand, the working yarn in your right hand, and it's called English style knitting, or throwing, or flicking is the other way that that is called. But I thought that was fascinating. I actually didn't realize that continental knitting kind of had its origins in Germany, but that totally makes sense, that people would not want to have anything to do with Germany during World War II. And so they kind of got away from even knitting in a style that had its origins in Germany. So there you go. That is your fact for today. Today's day-to-day section is really all about my vacation in New York City. And I'm really excited to share some of that. I did do a vlog, which I posted, it dropped yesterday. So if you'd like to see things in a little bit more detail and a lot of pictures and videos, it's about a 25-minute vlog actually. So I've got that up on the YouTube channel. But we left a week ago on Sunday, early in the morning. Our bus left the bus station at 6:30, so I had to get up at very early, let's just put it that way, way earlier than I like. And to get down to Portland, we got on the bus. The bus ride was uneventful. And from there, we made our way around the city with my daughter and her fiance. We had really slow mornings for the most part, which was really quite nice. This is our third trip to the city for each time for a week at a time. So we've done a lot of the touristy things, and now it's really more about just being able to spend time with our daughter and being around. So we didn't feel a big need to race out every single morning or stay out really late. Matter of fact, most of our times out and about in the city were really kind of confined primarily to the afternoon, late morning, or late afternoon. So most mornings we would leave maybe around 10 or 10:30 and get a little bit of breakfast, meet up with our daughter, do some sightseeing or things, and then some of the nights we would stay out and we would do dinner together with her fiance. And there were a couple of nights that we got back to the hotel around 5 o'clock and we just called it and relaxed in the room. So it was overall a slower vacation. It was really nice. But we started out when we first arrived and we walked around Central Park for a while. The next day we went and did a visit to Carnegie Hall. In the evening we had tickets to Carnegie Hall, so that was really kind of cool. There was a children's choir that performed. They were from all over the United States, and a gospel choir, and there was a requiem that was done with an orchestral accompaniment. I really enjoyed the children's choir. It made my educator heart happy, let's put it that way. It was fun to see them. They probably ranged, if I had to guess, fifth or sixth grade up to high school age. That would probably actually make sense. It was probably middle and high school, and I know that in a lot of parts of the country, middle school can be either 5th or 6th grade. So that is probably the age range that they were. So that was kind of cool. We went to the Botanic Gardens and walked around there for a while. That day was pretty hot, and it actually was not as hot as it got within the week, but we were outside the whole time and there was just really no way to get out of the heat. The rest of the week, even though it got warmer, we were in and out of stores, we were in and out of malls, and so we weren't like outside for really, really extended periods of time. So that made it a little bit easier. So that was one of the nights that we called it pretty early. By the time we were done with the Botanic Gardens, we were pretty drained. And we walked in the shade. It wasn't like we were in the direct sun for hours, but the heat itself, it was just really, really hot, and it was draining nonetheless. And so we went and ended up back at the hotel pretty early and got Chick-fil-A from down the street and just chilled for the night. So that was fine. We went into Brooklyn for a little while and walked around Dumbo and saw the Brooklyn and the Manhattan bridges. I got some fun video there. We went and did the One World Observatory Tower. That was really kind of cool. It wasn't something, my husband was the one who really wanted to do that, and I was like, okay, sure. But once he got up there, that was really cool. And it was crazy because the elevator, we went up to the 101st floor, and then we walked down one level. They bring you up and then you walk down, and the observatory is actually on the 100th floor. But the elevators take you up so fast. I think it actually took us longer to get to the 15th floor of our hotel than it did to get 100 floors in One World Observatory. But you could feel your ears popping. And on the way up, they had a video on 3 sides of the elevator was actually monitors of sorts, like floor-to-ceiling immersive monitors. And they had a time-lapse visual of what the city would have looked like going back to like 1500s, where it was all green space. And then as they imagined the city kind of building up and becoming the city that it is today. So that was kind of cool to see. We did the Guggenheim, we did the first floor of the Natural History Museum, and then the last night we actually spent some time walking along the East River. It was really quite pleasant. At that point, it was still, Friday was the hottest day. I think it got to 95 degrees. And at that point though, when we were out in the evening after dinner, it was kind of clouding up a little bit, and the temperature had dropped a little at that point. It was like 85, 87 degrees, but there was a really nice breeze as we walked along the river, and we probably did that for almost an hour. Well, we sat for a while in a bunch, but we were probably out there for about an hour or so at least. So that was really cool. And then we came home on Saturday. We got together, had breakfast, and caught our bus. The bus left New York around 1:45. And we made it back to Maine. We were a little late. It took us a little while to actually get out of the city. And then we actually ran into some pretty strong storms in Connecticut. It was raining really, really heavy I'm trying to think, was there lightning? I don't remember if it was lightning, but really, really heavy rain. We went through a couple of patches of that. Our bus driver did a great job though, felt perfectly safe. And then we got to Maine around 8:30 finally. I think we were supposed to get to Maine around 7:45, so we're a little delayed, but not terrible. And then by the time we got back up to our house, it was a little after 9 o'clock, 9:15 maybe. And yeah, and then it just took a while to wind down, as it always does, right? You come home, and we took a few minutes to unpack right away and got in bed with air conditioning and just kind of chilled. It was after 11 though, I think, before I finally wound down enough to be able to sleep. And then yesterday, we went to church and came home and straightened the house up, got groceries, did laundry, and evening we went and visited with my mother-in-law. That was really nice. And my daughter, again, my daughter and her fiance came back with us. They are getting married, actually. And so they are touring different wedding venues this week and trying to narrow down where they might hold the wedding. And so it was nice. They were able to visit with my mother-in-law last night and my sisters-in-law. So that was kind of cool. It was a big storm, actually, as we were on our way home. While we were there, just before we left, and then the rain kind of abated enough for us to get in the car, but we were kind of driving through it. My poor dogs were just a mess. My little one in particular was a little quaking aspen leaf in our laps as we were trying to drive home, but made it home, and yeah, that's where we're at. So that pretty much is all that I have for this podcast. I thank you so much for listening. I have links for everything down below in the show notes. If you enjoyed this video, please do like it or subscribe to the channel, and that way you will know whenever I post anything new. You can find me on Instagram or Ravelry as Knittin Michelle, and KNITTINMICHELLE, or you can email me at michellesfiberstudio@gmail.com. I hope you have a wonderful week, and happy knitting!